Did you always want to learn how to pose in photos? In this video, I'm gonna teach you the best portrait posing tips for normal people. If you want to learn more tips and tricks for creative photography, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video each Wednesday. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelie Satzger. I'm a photo artist and art director based in Munich, and in this video I'll show you the best posing tips and tricks I've learned over the last couple of years. As you maybe already seen on my photos on Instagram, I create a lot of self-portrait photos which have been in a lot of publications and advertisements all around the world. But besides of that, I do all different kinds of shootings, which are not always necessarily with professional models. So whether you're looking for posing tips to navigate your model better, or if you're just looking for posing tips for better holiday pictures for yourself, these tips are applicable for all kinds of people photography. Tip number 1. So the first tip to get better poses inside of your image, to think of a story in your images. The more detailed, the better. For example, in this fashion shooting I did, it was like a 60s style fashion shooting, and I had two girls and I explained to them that they're two wealthy, rich women which maybe have husbands which bring the money into the household, but they just sit at home and are bored all day long. And they just do random things to distract themselves, like lying in a bathtub, lying in a bed, just sitting there, drinking their coffee, and they could really feel it because I was actually telling them what the background story of this whole shooting was. So they were actually coming up with poses I don't even thought of before because I told them the whole story behind the fashion shooting. So always come up with a good story. It doesn't have to be like too crazy, but just to get the feeling into your models, what you actually want from them, how you want them to act like. So think of a story, and it will also help your models much better to come up with crazy poses. Tip number 2, music. Music always helps you to get into the right mood for your photos, because music always awakes feelings and it helps you to express the right mood in your poses as well. So choose the music wisely to whatever you want to express in your images. So if you have something really quiet, sentimental, you can choose like a really quiet song. For example, in the one shooting, I was just referring to the 60s style fashion shooting. I was playing some 60s style music, some jazzy, and it helped everybody, including me, to get into the right mood and feeling for the whole fashion shooting, and to also come up with different poses, which really turned out really well, I guess. So the next time you shoot somebody, I would definitely suggest to you to play some music in the background. Even if you're shooting outside, you can take some Bluetooth boxes and just let them play a little bit in the background while you're shooting, and it helps a lot, I promise. Tip number 3, movement. Movement is such a practical tool to get some natural and interesting poses inside of your images. If you're not shooting a professional model, I would suggest to you that you start slowly by asking the person to slowly walk towards you. And also turning and spinning is a really cool tool. Even though sometimes the photos don't turn out as good as you hope to, I have experienced that after the person moved a little bit and just spin around, etc. After that, the poses look more natural. Also, just really small movements like playing with the scarf or with the head or with the hair or with the coat, something like this, can look really nice and create really interesting poses for your images. Which brings me to tip number 4, which are items. Something that can really help you to create nice poses inside of your images are any kinds of items or props you bring inside of the images. This also helps the model, as often models don't really know where to place the hands. So if you give them something in their hand, they can play with it, and also the focus is not only on the model anymore, but also on the prop, and it just loosens the tension inside of your shooting, which really helps the model to find better poses. And it doesn't have to be something really huge, something big. It can be a simple flower in the hand, or maybe a bag, a hat. a coat that you just take off and give the model in the hand so they can play with it, or just have the hand like this. So it's a really good tool. If you feel your model is insecure, you can just, you know, if you're outside, find something, some flowers, some leaf, you can just place in your hand and she can play with it. So what are your favorite go-to items you're using in your images? I personally like to get hats in my images. Just let me know at the comments below. So tip number 5 is maybe a rather unconventional one. It is to open your mouth a tiny little bit just. I experienced that when I have a really close up in my photo and I have my mouth closed, it looks a little bit stiff and even sometimes a little bit sad. I want to have some kind of expression in my photos, and I experienced that for many models and for me as well, it really looks much better if the mouth is a little bit open, just a tiny little bit like this. So first of all, it just makes your lips look a little bit bigger in my opinion, which is what I definitely want. And second of all, I think that it gives the whole image a better expression. I also heard that you can say the word apple and in the end of the word you have like the perfect face for having the mouth a little bit open. So you can also try that. But I basically have just my mouth a little bit open most of the time when I take photos of myself, and I also tell it to my models when I'm shooting. So the 6th tip is when you definitely think that your face is just out of control right now and you just don't want to have your face inside of your image. There are a couple of options there. So for example, you can stand backwards to your photo, which gives the whole photo a really intimate look as you are actually showing the person what you are seeing. So the person feels a little bit like he's there with you in the image and just sees exactly what you're seeing. Also, what I a lot of the times do is to hide my face with any kinds of items. It can be like hats, which I use a lot in my images to hide my face. I also edit my face out and just added some flowers in there, etc. But you can also just hold something in front of your face. It can be a leaf, it can be a hat, it can be so many things. So yeah, if you don't feel comfortable with having your face in the image, you can definitely just hide it and it will still be a great image. Tip number 7 is to put the hands in the pockets. Pretty simple, but often you don't think about it when you're just like really stressed at a shooting. So I want to mention it as well. Because models or yourself as well, if you're taking self-portraits, often you don't really know where to place your hands. So you can take a prop, as I mentioned before, but you can also just use whatever you're wearing. So for example, if you're wearing a coat, you can just put your hands in the pockets of the coat. If you're wearing a trouser, just casually put them in the pants, just maybe halfway, because if you just put your whole fist in the pants, it just don't look really flattering to your whole figure. But you can think of your clothes as props on your body, which is really helpful because we always wear them. We always have them with us. Also, if you're wearing a dress or a skirt, you can just move it around, have your hands playing in the fabric of your skirt, and it will create a lot of cool poses. It's really simple and you always have it with you, as I just mentioned. So hands in pocket. So tip number 8 is to avoid eye contact with the camera. Eye contact with the camera can be really intimidating, even still for me, even though I take a lot of self-portraits over the last, I think 7 years it's already since I started with photography. But I still sometimes don't really feel comfortable with looking straight into the camera. It feels just really weird. But if you don't look into the camera, if you just look a little bit to the left or to the right, I have the feeling that also my face looks more flattering when I just move a little bit sidewards. And it also looks more interesting because if you're looking straight into the camera, you're facing the viewer. But if you look a little bit to the side, he is wondering where you're looking at, what's happening there, maybe even following your eyes if there's something in the image as well. And for your model, whoever you're shooting, I would always pretty clear, communicate where they should look at. Like if there's a tree, look at the tree, look at that branch. So be really precise where the person should look at, as that really helps the person to follow the eyes in the right direction. Or sometimes what I even do is I have my finger and I'm saying, look at my fingers, and then the eyes are following my finger and I stop where the eyes should be. And I say, okay, look like this, and then I take my photos. So we're already at tip number 9, which is take care of your arms. That's what I realized when I was taking a lot of self-portraits. And if you have your arms always straight to your body, sometimes it just looks like one hole and it's really unflattering for your whole shape. So what I usually try is to keep a little gap between my body and my arms to have like the full body shape, and it looks nice and good, and have the arms as a separate shape and it doesn't look like one whole. So just try, if you have poses or posing your models, to have like poses which are a little bit like the arms are a tiny little bit away from the body. And the 10th and last tip is probably one of the most important, to be honest. If you are a young photographer and you're just starting out to shoot professional or not professional models, I would highly suggest to you to search before you're shooting in Pinterest, on Google. You can also take screenshots on Instagram of poses you really like and you would love to have in your own photos, you would love to have in your own shooting. And then you collect all the poses you would like to have. And if you're on a shooting, I sometimes even did it beforehand. If the model was like getting her makeup and hair done, I would just really quickly talk to her and I was like, hey, look, my idea was this and that, and I would love you to like have a look at these poses. We can try some of these out. And then she would already have them in the back of her mind. And I wouldn't even sometimes have to remind her what I actually want to have in the image. She would remember some of the poses I showed her before and just naturally do them, which is really awesome. But if they don't, if they just are really stiff in the image, you can navigate them really much easier if you show them the poses in a photo, or you're just doing the poses yourself and tell the model to copy whatever you're doing, which is a really good tool as well to get the poses you want to have. So if you're a new photographer, I would definitely highly recommend having the poses at your iPad, at your iPhone, and just show them to your models. So you don't hesitate at the shooting and get stressed out if you can't remember what poses you would like to have in the shooting. And the model is also not like, highly professional and knows it herself. So yeah, now you got a bunch of new ideas how to pose your next model in your shooting. If you still feel uncomfortable taking photos of yourself, I got an online course on Skillshare all about how to take creative self-portrait photos with your iPhone. You can check that out at the link below. And you're of course very welcome to check out my Instagram account at the link below as well. I share all my newest photos on there and also really interesting behind the scenes videos of how I create my images. And I'm always really interested to get to know all of you personally, so just shoot me a personal message if you like it. So check out these videos next, and if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you in my next video next Wednesday. Bye!